Disclaimer: the following program is designed to offend, provoke, and challenge your religious sensibilities. It contains content that will likely offend anyone who holds religion sacred. This is for those with thick skin or a taste for the harsh truth. If you're easily offended or cherish your religious views, please turn off now. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. You have been warned. Statistically speaking, you are in the 98% of viewers who watch this channel without subscribing, stuck in a loop where this channel never reaches its full potential. That means in some alternate universe, there's a better version of you. One that actually clicked subscribe, altered the algorithmic timeline, and is now thriving in a superior reality where this content keeps showing up in their feed. But unfortunately, in this sad little timeline, you're still watching without subscribing. So here's your dimensional choice. Hit subscribe right now and break free from algorithmic limbo, or keep scrolling and get trapped in some alternate reality where you never find this channel again. Your call. But in another universe, you already subscribed. All right. So I wanted to do something more fun on this video since I've been making a lot of very serious videos. So let's talk about the multiverse in the Bible. Scientists have spent decades searching for evidence of a multiverse. But what if ancient religious texts had already cracked the code and nobody noticed? Parallel universes, quantum glitches, teleportation. This isn't sci-fi, it's the Bible. And somehow it's weirder than fiction. What if I told you the Bible has been hiding the secret to the multiverse this whole time? That angels are actually interdimensional travelers, that Jesus may have been phasing between realities, that heaven isn't a fluffy cloud kingdom, but a parallel universe just outside our reach. Today we're diving into the glitches in God's code, the biblical passages that may prove we're living in a multiverse, or, just prove that ancient people were really confused about reality. Either way, it's going to be fun. Let's start with the biggest red flag, Jesus' resurrection. Before he died, he was just a regular guy. Well, regular in the sense that he could walk on water, generate unlimited carbs, and scare fishermen. But after he came back from the dead, that's when things got really weird. In John 20, verse 19, the disciples are hiding behind locked doors, terrified of getting crucified next. And suddenly, Jesus just appears in the middle of the room. No door creaks open. No, hey guys, it's me, Jesus. You won't believe what happened. Just bam, there he is. Same thing happens in Luke 24, verse 31. Two guys are chilling with him, eating dinner, and mid-bite, poof, he vanishes. No smoke bomb, no dramatic exit, just gone. Now, modern Christianity will tell you, oh, that's just Jesus being divine. But what if Jesus wasn't just resurrected? What if he was glitching between parallel realities? Maybe he didn't conquer death. Maybe he respawned in another dimension and accidentally phased back into ours like some kind of cosmic software bug. Because let's be real, if anyone was going to accidentally break reality, it's the guy who could supposedly already bend physics like a cheat code. Genesis 28 verse 12 says, Jacob falls asleep and has a vision of a massive ladder reaching into heaven with angels traveling up and down like a divine escalator. We're supposed to believe these angels are just commuting between realms like celestial office workers. But what if this wasn't a ladder at all? What if Jacob was seeing a wormhole, a literal interdimensional gateway? If heaven is another universe, the angels aren't just floating around, they're using some kind of divine transportation system to cross between realities. Meanwhile, Jacob wakes up, probably having just witnessed some biblical Men in Black level nonsense, and instead of questioning his entire existence, he just builds an altar and calls it a day. Jacob, my guy, you just saw interdimensional beings commuting through a space-time anomaly, and your response is to stack some rocks and move on? This is why ancient people shouldn't have been the ones documenting anything. The Bible has a fun habit of not explaining things, and two of its biggest moments are Elijah and Enoch. Beam me up, Yahweh. In 2 Kings 2 verse 11, Elijah's exit is straight out of a sci-fi movie. He's just walking around with his protege Elisha when suddenly, bam, a whirlwind scoops him up and he vanishes into the sky. Chariots of fire, horses, It's all very dramatic. Now, if we're supposed to believe a literal flaming chariot flew him into heaven, we have a few logistical problems, like, say, the lack of breathable atmosphere. And yet, Elijah isn't plummeting back down like a rejected space launch. So what if Elijah didn't just ascend? What if he phased out of our universe entirely? If he wasn't floating into the sky, he might have been sucked through an interdimensional gateway. Maybe God's whirlwind wasn't weather at all, it was a cosmic tear in reality. But hey, at least Elijah got a fancy ride. Enoch's fate is somehow even weirder. Genesis 5, verse 24 says, "And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him." Excuse me, what? That's not how people die. That's not even how people disappear. That's how quantum objects behave when no one's looking. If Elijah got abducted by Yahweh's UFO, Enoch was straight up Schrödinger's prophet, both existing and not existing at the same time until God decided to check the box. Now, maybe Enoch wasn't just taken. Maybe he was quantum deleted. Maybe he existed in a superposition, flickering between dimensions until God collapsed the waveform and resolved his fate. Or, if you want to get really weird, what if Enoch never actually existed in the first place? If you never observe something again, can you prove it was real? Maybe Enoch was the Bible's version of a glitch in the simulation, a piece of divine code that got rewritten out of existence without leaving a trace. Whatever happened, two things are clear. Elijah got a chariot, while Enoch got Thanos snapped. Genesis 1, verse 6 through 8 talks about the firmament, this mysterious separation between the waters above and below. Now, if you take it literally, it sounds like the sky is some kind of solid dome, which obviously isn't true. But if you think about it scientifically, because, that's what Genesis is known for, the firmament sounds a lot like a dimensional boundary. What if the waters above aren't clouds or space, but an entirely separate plane of existence, sealed off from ours? Maybe God didn't create one world, maybe he created many and put a divine firewall between them so we wouldn't start hopping dimensions. Because knowing humanity, we'd absolutely try to poke a hole in the universe just to see what happens. 2 Corinthians 12, verse 2, Paul claims he was caught up to the third heaven, but he's not sure if he was physically there or just having an out-of-body experience. Okay, so first of all, third heaven? How many heavens are there? Who's keeping count? If there's a third, does that mean there's a second, a fourth, maybe even infinite layers of reality stacked on top of each other? And Paul is so confused about whether he physically went there or not, which just screams interdimensional accident. Maybe he got sucked through a cosmic rift and popped back in before he even realized what happened. Either that, or Paul was tripping harder than anyone in biblical history. Job 1, verse 6 through 7. Satan is just casually hanging out with God when he's asked where he's been, and he responds, "From going to and fro in the earth and from walking up and down in it." First of all, weird flex. Second, what does that even mean? It sounds like Satan isn't just strolling from earth to heaven and back, he's moving through realms. He has a kind of free pass between dimensions, slipping between heaven, earth, and whatever else is out there. Meanwhile, humans are stuck in one reality, wondering why their prayers keep going to voicemail. Okay, this is definitely one of the weirdest ones. Melchizedek is one of the biggest anomalies in the Bible. He pops up out of nowhere in Genesis 14, blesses Abraham, collects a tithe like he's running a divine protection racket, and then just vanishes. No backstory, no farewell speech, just poof. But the real glitch happens when the New Testament tries to explain him in Hebrews 7, verse 3. Without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like the Son of God, he remains a priest forever. Hold on, what? How do you exist with no parents, no birth, and no death? That's not a human, that's a coding error in reality. This guy has no genealogy, which is especially weird considering the Bible loves its family trees. Entire chapters are dedicated to listing who begat who, and yet Melchizedek gets a hard pass. So what's the most logical explanation? He phased in from another universe, dropped some cryptic wisdom, and phased out before anyone could ask too many questions. He's a divine NPC, coded into the simulation as a placeholder, but never given an actual backstory. He's a literal time traveler, bouncing between realities, testing how much biblical weirdness people will accept. Either way, nobody in the Bible seems remotely concerned about it. They're just like, ah yes, the immortal, parentless, ageless priest king. Checks out. Genesis 11, humanity is thriving, speaking one language, working together, and building a skyscraper to heaven because apparently zoning laws weren't a thing yet. And then God panics. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so they will not understand each other. So instead of just knocking over the tower like a normal omnipotent being would, God goes for the nuclear option. Boom! Humanity is shattered, scattered across the earth, speaking different languages overnight. This makes zero sense if it's just about speech. But what if the Tower of Babel wasn't just about language? What if humanity was getting too close to piercing the dimensional barrier? So God split the timeline to stop them. I mean, think about it. Before Babel, one unified civilization, one shared knowledge base. After Babel, fractured societies, different cultures, different histories, almost like alternate versions of Earth. Maybe God didn't just confuse languages. Maybe he shattered reality itself, separating different versions of humanity into parallel universes so they'd never figure out how to get back to heaven's dimension. Or maybe, just maybe, this was the first divine patch update, closing an exploit before humanity could speedrun the universe and break into the dev room. In Matthew 17, Jesus takes Peter, James, and John up a mountain for what they assume is going to be a nice little hike, and then he starts glowing like a nuclear reactor. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. That's already weird. But then Moses and Elijah, two long dead guys, just show up out of nowhere and start chatting with Jesus like this is some kind of divine crossover episode. Then, just as suddenly, everything snaps back to normal. Jesus tells them not to talk about it because, of course, he does. Okay, let's be real. What if this wasn't just a vision? What if Jesus temporarily phased into a higher dimensional form, revealing his true interdimensional nature? Moses and Elijah weren't ghosts. They were alternate versions of themselves from different universes, appearing at a crossroads between dimensions. The mountain itself was a thin place where realities overlapped just long enough for the cosmic meetup to happen. Jesus wasn't just shining, he was glitching between forms, like someone stuck between character skins in a bad video game. And yet, the disciples' big takeaway from all this was, hey, should we set up tents? Priorities, guys. You just saw reality collapse in on itself, and your first instinct is to start a camping trip? This is why Jesus didn't trust them with deeper knowledge. Revelation is already insane, but if you read it like a sci-fi horror script, it screams multiversal reset. Revelations 21 verse 1 says, "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away." Hold the phone. New heaven and new earth. The old ones are just gone? Sounds less like a divine upgrade and more like a full-on universe wipe. Then there's the 144,000 chosen people in Revelation 7, chapter 4. What if these are just the only ones getting ported into the next universe, while the rest get left behind? And don't even get me started on the beasts, angels, and creatures covered in eyes in Revelation 4, verse 6 through 8. That doesn't sound like heavenly beings. That sounds like eldritch horrors from a reality we were never meant to perceive. Revelation isn't just about end times. It's describing a cosmic cycle where one universe collapses and another takes its place. Maybe John didn't see the future. Maybe he saw the next iteration of reality itself. Acts 8, verses 39 through 40. Philip is minding his business, baptizing an Ethiopian official, when they came up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord suddenly took Philip away, and the eunuch did not see him again. Philip vanishes from one location and instantly reappears miles away in another city. I'm sorry, did the Holy Spirit just teleport him? This isn't a normal miracle. This is quantum displacement. But Philip didn't just get moved. He blinked through parallel realities and landed in one where he was supposed to continue preaching. This is a documented case of biblical teleportation that nobody seems remotely fazed by. If the Bible casually contains teleportation, what else is possible? At this point, I half expect the next verse to say, "And then Philip hit quick save before making his next jump." Ever notice that Genesis has two different creation stories? In Genesis 1, God creates humans, male and female, at the same time. Genesis 2, God creates Adam first, then later makes Eve from his rib. People try to harmonize them, but what if they aren't the same story at all? What if Genesis 1 describes one universe's creation, while Genesis 2 describes an alternate one? Two versions of humanity, slightly different. Two creation sequences that don't quite match up. Almost like alternate timelines running parallel. And don't even get me started on the talking snake, because that absolutely sounds like something that leaked in from another dimension. 1 Samuel 28, verse 7 through 20. Is this a paranormal time slip? All right, here's the setup. King Saul is freaking out because he's about to lose a battle. So what does he do? He goes full Ouija board mode and asks a witch to summon the ghost of the prophet Samuel. And somehow it works. Samuel's ghost physically appears, complains about being disturbed, and then gives Saul a full-on prophecy about the future. What now? Then, instead of questioning how he just pulled off a paranormal event that violates every known law of reality, Saul just accepts it and moves on. But let's break this down logically. Where exactly was Samuel before this? If the afterlife is a fixed, closed-off reality, then summoning Samuel should be impossible. But if existence is more like a multiversal simulation, then maybe Samuel wasn't actually dead in the way we think. Maybe he was just phased into another timeline, and Saul's little seance just briefly yanked him back into this one. This isn't just necromancy. This is cross-dimensional interference, and honestly, if ghosts can jump realities that easily, then that means the multiverse isn't just possible, it's leaking. Okay, the book of Job screams glitch in the matrix right from the start. God and Satan literally place a cosmic bet on Job's suffering. Job loses everything, his wealth, his family, his health, just to see if he'll break. After he barely survives the torture, God gives him back double everything like a weird celestial refund policy. But let's think about this in multiversal terms. If Job's original family is gone, but then he gets new children afterward, are they really the same? Did God just reset Job's timeline with a New Game Plus feature, keeping his memories intact but rewriting his reality? Or worse, did God just shift Job into a parallel universe where everything looks the same, but his old life never actually existed in this version of reality? If Job's world can be reset like that, then reality itself is mutable, which means heaven isn't just running a simulation, it's actively editing it. And if they can do it to Job, what makes you think you aren't stuck in one of these divine experiments? Jesus heads into the desert for 40 days. No food, no water, no shelter. Somehow he doesn't die. Not only does he survive, but he meets Satan, who casually takes him to a mountain where he can see every kingdom on earth at once. Satan offers Jesus control over all of them, which, hold on, is that even possible in linear time? And then, just as suddenly, the entire episode ends. Jesus re-enters the normal timeline, and no one seems to question how he just disappeared for over a month. Okay, this doesn't add up, unless the wilderness wasn't just a desert. It was an isolated dimension, an in-between space where time doesn't work the same. The mountain wasn't on Earth, it was a vantage point from outside time, where Jesus could see all human history at once. The temptations weren't just moral tests, they were a battle for control over which timeline would unfold. And when Jesus returns, it's as if nothing happened, because maybe, for everyone else, it didn't. Matthew 27, verse 51 through 53. Most people miss this verse, but when Jesus dies on the cross, something insane happens. The earth shook, the rock split, and the tombs broke open. The bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. They came out of the tombs after Jesus' resurrection and went into the holy city and appeared to many people. Wait, hold up. So a bunch of long dead people just spontaneously reanimated and started wandering around town, and nobody thought this deserved more than 2 sentences. These weren't just ghosts, these were dead people, fully resurrected, walking the streets, like it's the Walking Dead Jerusalem edition. There's zero explanation for what happened to them afterwards. Did they just blend back into society? Did they die again? Did they slip back into their graves like nothing happened? Or, let's go bigger, what if this wasn't a miracle, but a temporary timeline resynchronization? What if these people weren't raised from the dead? They were yanked in from alternate realities where they never died in the first place. And when the event was over, they either faded back into their own universe or got written out of history entirely. How is this not the biggest event in human history? Did nobody think to document the moment great-great-grandpa Jedediah showed up to buy some hummus after being dead for 400 years? Okay, Elijah is back on his weird multiverse nonsense again. In 1 Kings 18, verse 46, after calling fire down from heaven, casual flex, Elijah suddenly outruns King Ahab's chariot all the way to Jezreel. That's a 17-mile run, and he beats a horse-drawn chariot on foot. So, what? This isn't humanly possible unless Elijah momentarily broke physics and activated speed hack mode. Did he enter bullet time? Did he blink through time skips? Or did he accidentally phase into a universe where humans have flash level super speed? And yet, like always, the Bible just moves on. Like, this isn't a terrifying ability to casually possess. Numbers 22 verses 21 through 30. A glitching NPC? This one is absurd, even by biblical standards. Balaam is riding his donkey when, out of nowhere, the donkey starts speaking in full sentences. It questions Balaam, asks him why he's hitting it, and holds a full-on conversation. Okay, so let's get this straight. Animals in the Bible don't normally talk, so this wasn't a common thing. The donkey's first instinct isn't to scream in horror, but to just casually scold Balaam like this is a normal Tuesday. Balaam, for some reason, doesn't seem remotely shocked that his livestock just became self-aware. This isn't just divine intervention. This is a full-on AI consciousness glitch. Maybe the donkey wasn't actually talking. Maybe Balaam temporarily phased into a universe where animals could always talk and didn't realize he had slipped into the wrong timeline. Or maybe the NPC script broke and the donkey started running debug dialogue like an AI chatbot in early access. Either way. So, is the Bible actually a secret roadmap to parallel universes? Did Jesus glitch out of reality? Did Elijah, Enoch, and Paul accidentally discover interdimensional travel? I mean, probably not, but that's never stopped conspiracy theorists before, so let's embrace the chaos. Either the Bible is full of secret quantum anomalies, or ancient writers just really sucked at explaining things. Either way, someone get Marvel on the phone. The Bible's multiverse is way wilder than anything they've come up with. And if this is all just nonsense, why does it make more sense than half of modern theology? Maybe the Bible wasn't written for just one reality. Maybe it was meant for all of them. So if you wake up tomorrow and the Bible suddenly says something different, well, now you know why. Hey, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.